Well, it's 11 o'clock in Red Deer and 11 o'clock in Calgary and Edmonton too, probably. We're ready to go with Kade Mills and his first round pen session with Senior Get the Money. The barn name is Dixie. Pretty sorrel filly.
Okay.
And I think we're waiting for one judge here, Kade, first.
She said I got straight 8s all the way across. Oh, okay. That a little better?
And while we're waiting for our third judge, I'll just give you an outline of what the judges are going to be scoring these fellows on. In all of these sessions, there's a total of 50 possible points. And the ones listed on the score sheet are the change in the horse, difference in ear, eyes, and body language. Did the trainer successfully work through the problems? Accepting pressure, soft in the face, and accepting tack and training aids. These are all worth 10 points. Does the trainer display clear communication to the horse? Did the trainer leave the horse in a good place, trainable frame of mind, or overworked? And what questions are you asking? Are you showing or telling each session? What the trainer is asking and what the horse is asking, for a total of 50 points in each of these sessions. And these fillies will all be auctioned off after the finals on Sunday afternoon by a live auction. And they're all going to have a pretty darn good start and a good foundation laid by these three fellows. And if anybody sees Lori Duff, could you mention that the second round pen session's getting underway as soon as she gets here? Kade Mills is coming fresh off a big win at the Everything Equine on the Border Trainers Challenge in Lloydminster last weekend. That's at least his, is from what I know, and I've known him since he was in short pants, I think that's at least his 4th or 5th Trainers Challenge win in various places. The Ivan Daines Country Music Picnic Trainers Challenge and several others.
We should all have herd immunity by now, I would.
Drinking out of each other's cups. You bet. She is.
You just leave it there. Just want to take a quick peek.
You bet.
See if I know that. Yeah, that Stan Weaver stud, tough and busy. Yeah.
Here she is.
Okay, Lori is here, and Kade, as soon as you step in, we'll start the timers, and you'll have 45 minutes. I think she likes you already. And your time starts now.
Okay. Morning, everyone. Good to be back here in Red Deer. I'm not sure if you guys have been coming to trainer challenges for a while, but my first trainer challenge was here in Red Deer in 2011. Kind of gave me my start into moving to Alberta and training horses. So it's cool to be back. She's going to be really hard to catch, so I can tell we're going to have to work on that. When I start these trainer challenges, these colts are always having a hard time paying attention. She's going to need some work and attention span. And you can see that I got her hooked onto me here right away, so I'm not concerned about that. The reason I went to my lunge whip here first is the first thing I want to teach this horse, or the first thing I want to kind of show her, is that relationship to pressure and release. So in my opinion, every horse you ride needs to be able to follow a feel and handle pressure. And pressure can be something that's difficult for them to understand. As soon as I start pushing her here with this whip, she's going to feel like she's in trouble. And once I accomplish what I come to get, I'm going to release. And she's going to start feeling that release and feeling that she has control over when I let go. So she'll start looking for that release in everything I ask. So the very first step for me is always just asking them to move until I find them accepting me being able to send them around the round pen. And once I feel like I got a good understanding with that, we can start to move along. So I'm going to pick to the left here for my first direction. Start building my pressure. You see how I tap that ground behind her? I'm not in a hurry to whip her. I just want her to feel that energy building and feel that pressure coming on so she can start looking for it. Now, I might have to tap her on the bum once, but if I do, it'll be after quite a bit of build in this pressure. There we go. Now, like I say, you can see she's a little bit offended right there, and she's not sure why I'm pushing her around. So all I got to do is continue one pattern here till I feel like I accomplish my goal of getting her to move off of that pressure. There, as soon as I started to build, she started to move out, so that's a good time to go back to a 1. Show it to her again. Again, see she's still a little confused. Good girl. Now my goal here is, by building my pressure on a scale of 1 to 10, that I can show her that range and pressure, which is going to let her realize that it's okay to move off of a 1. And if she doesn't move off of a 1, she's not going to be in trouble. I'm going to ease to a 2 and ease to a 3. And it gets her to where she don't feel like she's afraid to make a mistake. I want her to feel like she has time to figure out what I want. There. And the first time I feel like she moves off a 1 really well and she doesn't come down here and get stuck at the gate, I can probably count that as a win. There. Good change in her right there. She didn't just stop and face up. She maintained that forward motion like I was looking for. Coming hooked onto me, gave me a good soften in the top line and a lick and chew. And when you're working a horse in the round pen, you really don't want to get caught into just chasing them around. I'm always reading her and trying to find her softening or her hooking onto me, any reason to back off in that, because it is easy to get caught in the trap that I just want her to lope, or I just want her to run, or I just want her to face up. I've got to feel like I see her accepting pressure and give her a release for that every time. And then talking about attention span there, as soon as some people came in, I lost her attention, so it's a great time for me to pick up and go again and start teaching her to have some attention span here. Good girl. See if you can stay with me there on that left eye, honey. Pretty good there. Okay, I can kind of give her a second. I'll go ahead and switch direction, make sure I get her out of that right eye before I decide to move along. That look on her face right there, I get asked all the time, why'd you pick that horse, or what made you want that one over the other ones? If you look at her eye right there, how could you not pick her? What a sweetheart. I could be a little early saying that too, that might bite me, but as far as that looks right there, I'm really liking it. Let's try that right eye, honey. I know you want to come in, but you got to move your feet. She doesn't look like she's really bothered by the build of pressure. She's settling in pretty good, but she also doesn't look to me like she completely understands it just yet. So as I kind of move along, I'm going to keep that through all my halter work and anything I'm doing with her, and try to really put this together. So she understands that. Forward, there we go. Good girl. So typical, she's going to be a little more confident on that left eye than she is on the right. So you see when she stops, she's wanting to switch eyes on me there. That's fine. I just got to spend a little more time on the right than I do on the left. Every time I lose her is a good time to pick up and send her, kind of promote her paying attention to me, even though there's all this stuff going on. There. See if I can keep that right eye. There, I lose her, so another good reason to pick up, send her again. Again, just got to promote that attention span. And even at home on young horses, trying to keep their focus for an entire session can be hard to do, but the more you work on it, the better they get. It's something that's taught. Good girl. There's that look again. Thank you. I think she's pretty good as far as this kind of stuff goes. She's going to be pretty easy to catch and all that. I like to teach all my horses to be roped kind of early on in their session in the round pen. It's something that gives them another form of pressure and teaches them how to handle it. Another side I like about roping a colt before you grab them on the halter is it makes pressure and release really simple. So what I'm going to do is start swinging my rope here at her, and I won't rope her on the move, so I don't want her to feel like it's a game of got ya. I'm going to rope until she's comfortable with the rope, and then I'll back off. And then once she's comfortable with the rope, I can go ahead and stick a loop on her if I can. And this is where a horse is going to have a hard time with any kind of training aid that you use, because some training aids mean stop, some training aids mean go, some training aids are teaching them to handle pressure. So she's got to be looking for my pattern. So there she kind of connects to me a little bit with the rope. I want her to realize the rope ain't a bad thing. So right there I can go ahead and just give her a nice release. Good girl. Now, as far as catching her, it's definitely not going to be a problem because she's confident, but anything I can reward with her sticking with me is what I'm really going with.
Just let her come up and put her head in the loop, Kade.
Yeah, makes me look like a good roper. Do it.
The old Terry Milliken trick there.
Yeah, good girl. I like it, but I don't want to take it just yet. I want her, when I catch her, to be feeling like I can't get rid of her. So here when I start swinging the rope, you see her getting nervous again. Catching is something that's going to need a lot of confidence, and her just coming up here licking her lips isn't giving me an opportunity to work on it. I also want her to feel that rope around her neck and get some pressure and release out of her. So you'll see here when I set this loop on her, we're going to have a little bit of a different look in her eye, I'm certain of it.
Oh, nice one.
Thank you.
Kade is a many-time calf roping, team roping champion back in high school rodeo. So.
And then right here is when I start my game of pressure and release. And pressure and release for me is everything when it comes to starting horses or riding any horse. Anybody you've ever seen that is really good with timing and feel always has really nice horses. So it's something I've really strived to make sure that I work on all the time, and I'm always trying to perfect. But what I want her to understand is that any pressure you feel, if you move that direction of the pressure, you're always going to find a release. Well, that was fairly uneventful.
What would you call her color, Kade?
I always get stuck here too, but chestnut is probably the best description of her I could guess.
That's what it says on her pedigree, too.
I think it would be chestnut because she's don't have enough red to be a sorrel, I guess, eh? Mark would probably be the one to answer that question. He knows more about it than I do.
That's it.
Good girl, darling.
I'm no expert. Either way, you just it's up to AQHA at the end.
Yeah, I think sorrel and chestnut can get to a point where they're almost interchangeable sometimes.
I think sometimes it's time of year too, like be a chestnut in the fall and a sorrel in the summer maybe.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Hey, now this is what I was talking about with catching, is that a horse is always really happy to be with you until you grab a halter. I'm sure we've all had one like that before. And I kind of figured there'd be a little bit of that in there. So what I want to do is before I go to getting the halter on her, I'm just going to get her to where she'll kind of stay with me here a little bit. And to be honest with you, for the first session, we have so many things to accomplish, but the more things I can teach her before I grab the saddle, the better she's going to accept it and the better she's going to take it. So if I feel like she's going to struggle with this halter, it's not going to be something I want to rush getting it on her, because then the next day it's going to be harder to catch her, and the next day it's going to be harder to catch her. You see how she's still got a little bit of resentment about that halter? So the more I can just play with her and ask her to control her feet right here, the easier it's going to be for me to catch her tomorrow. And that's kind of my intention, is just because I can catch her today, that don't mean tomorrow is going to be a whole lot better. Hey. There. Atta girl. Good job. All right, now obviously, oh, thank you. Now obviously these horses have had a halter on before. You can see with her, she's no stranger to it. But I intend on riding her in the halter, if not later today, definitely by tomorrow. So I got to start looking at halter as something I'm going to use to create body control the same way as I would with a bridle. So how I'm going to move her around here before I get too busy with the saddle and all the other things we need to accomplish is, I want to make sure I feel like I can control her feet and I can create body control from the ground with the halter. So when it is time to ride, I want to feel like I'm ahead of the game, and for lack of a better way to put it, I don't want to feel like I'm winging it. So first thing I'm going to do is ask her to give the pressure just in the face. Good girl. And I'm just going to apply light down pressure starting at a 1, and every time she moves the direction of correct, she's going to get a release. And this is going to help me kind of take control of her face before I start trying to take control of her body. And it's also going to give her a little bit of an idea of who I am and how I'm going to pull on her, which is different from person to person. So I kind of want to start making her mine, so to speak, so she understands how I'm going to talk to her here over the course of the weekend. The way she is so far, I wouldn't mind making her mine. She could come home. My wife's a sucker for a chestnut mare wherever she is. Now she's just getting a little lost. You know, the first couple pulls were good, and then she's kind of thinking, all right, maybe I'll try to say no, that's fine. I'm kind of excited to find as much no as I can here so I can really feel like I've accomplished what I come to get. Now she's trying to overdo it to where as soon as I start, she just fires her head to the ground, so not what I want. I'm just gonna keep asking until I find some resistance and try to take it out. You see how right there, she's doing it, but it's rude? I just want to keep talking to her until I feel like I can take a hold of her without a negative reaction. There, that negative reaction comes out. Talk to her again. Now again. There, you see her really trying to just give me a fine. I want a okay, not a fine. There, you can find that kind of resistance in the nose, which I'm sure in the backup we're going to sure find a piece of that as well. Now, everything that people talk about in horse training is how to do it, how to do it, how to do it. One thing I've been trying to talk about more lately is how long to do it. You know, if you say that I'm going to do this until when? And I think the until is probably the most important. So what I'm looking for is right there, she allowed me to take control of her, and then her first reaction was good. And first reaction is a good way to judge that. So I'll take that right there.
Coming up to 30 minutes now, Kade. Half an hour to go.
Okay. We've kind of been taking everything in stride. I felt like we had more time. I think she'll be just fine, though. Okay, so now I've got to incorporate moving her feet. And once you start incorporate moving a colt's feet, this is where things can get a little harder on her because that pressure is going to come on, and you've got to have a way to apply pressure that you can be consistent with. So again, building on a 1 to 10 scale, I want to lift before I tap. and I'm gonna tap at a 1, and then I'm gonna lift my rope up, and then I'll tap at a 2. My lift gives her time to see that coming, so it's not all coming on with a lot of swinging and bad energy. I want her to really be methodical. And then before I start tapping, I really want to make sure I show her direction. So I'm going to ask her to move away. I'm going to use this knot like a joystick. There, she's kind of stuck. Light tap. Lots of time in between taps. And that time, I really believe, keeps them thinking. I want them shoulders there to move away, and the hips will follow. You're going to be one of them horses I'm going to have to start moving you away from me here in a minute. Now, tapping on them sometimes can be hard when they're young, but I truly believe if they understand the tabs, they're so much easier to ride. You don't want to be sitting on a horse worried about using your leg, because if you slide your leg the wrong way, they're going to overreact. And training colts for other people to ride and people who don't ride all the time, you really have to have them to where someone can accidentally kick on them or accidentally pull on them without them being too reactive. And this is kind of a good start to that. Here she's a little balled up, don't know where to go. I'm just going to keep my left hand really talking to her. And I want to show her an open door away at all times. So my body language is really sending her that way, and my taps are sending her that way. So here's that open door, Dixie. Much better. Good girl. Thank you. Now, even though we're under a time restraint here, the more I feel like I can give her a break, you guys will see me do this quite a bit, is I'll just kind of go for a bit of a walk and pick her up in a different part of the arena. It makes me feel like I let her chew on that long enough she can absorb it. When you only got 45 minutes to start a colt, your first reaction is you're going to get this, and then you're going to get that, and then you're going to get this, and then you're going to get that. And I found a few times that not as much stuck. So in this session here, first and foremost, if I can teach her how to learn, that's going to be step 1. And then if I can get 3 or 4 things 100% done, I'll be happy. Now, what those 3 or 4 things, I will see how it goes. But I don't want to get half of 15 things. Hey, there's that little bit of root in the face we found in head down. There, she was a little better. Now, as soon as I release, her first reaction is to kind of cut me off, so it's going to be a good time to address that. Come on, Dixie. No. There, that was pretty. No, you see her kind of head go in front of me? Now, instead of just trying to pull her head and force her where I want her to go, every time she makes the same mistake, it's going to be my excuse to pick up on her and start again. So right here, you see her kind of not want me on that side? It's a good excuse to start again. Again, we're going to teach her how to learn here in this session. And then just pick up for the same mistake. There, she's kind of leave me on that side. Then she makes that mistake, so I'm going to pick up and go again. Until when I stop, she'll stay on that side, preferably without nose roping. No. And just making her a little bit accountable for the things that she's doing when I let go. There, you see her right on the verge, like she's really finding that line. She was pretty sweet right there, but I want to make sure this first thing I kind of take a stand on, I want to make sure we get what we come to get. That's one thing I find with starting colts, is if you can get that first thing you teach them, for them to be able to read the pattern and really importantly, believe me that when I say I'm going to continue till I get what I come to get, she'll start looking to me a little better. Getting a little sticky here. No. I appreciate you being so close, sweetie, but There. That's a little better. Hey. Quit that. All right. Going to get a little on that right eye, and then I can start flagging her and getting her ready to accept pressure here. So I'm going to set her up the same way, and odds are a horse is going to be stiffer on their right eye than they're going to be on their left. That's not going to change my approach none. Or they're just going to do it. No, that ain't going to cut it, sweetie. So if you guys see the way she is, there's so many things to like, and I'll just give you guys a little bit of where I'm at in my head. I love the way she is. I love the way she's acting. She's really easy to talk to. But for anybody who's ever started any number of colts, one of the hardest things to do on a young horse is create forward motion. And with her, if you guys kind of watching her move around here, you're going to see that's going to be a bit of a struggle for her and I. And people talk about him being sticky or whatever you want to say. That the idea there is that she doesn't quite understand how to handle that pressure, but she's not scared of it. So it gets where them feet are a little bit sticky. So what I'm going to be doing here through everything is always making sure that I can move her feet and keep working on that in every aspect. So when I get on her, I'm not having to use more spur than I would like. Now by grabbing the flag here, this is going to be a way to teach her how to handle things she's scared of. So odds are she's going to be scared of this flag, maybe not. But I want her, when she gets nervous there, I want her to look to me and not just panic and drag me clear across this round pen. So I'll start by shaking the flag. Now, it's a good thing to do when I just started pushing her around because I want her to be able to see the difference between pressure and flag. Or, you know, a lot of phrases people use is sack out, desensitize. There's a lot of different ones. For me, the best word I can use to describe what I'm doing is teaching her to accept the flag. The word accept, I find, promotes people doing it long enough and doing it in the right way. If you're teaching them to accept the flag, I don't want her to not be sensitive. Sacked out kind of comes with its own list of stuff too. I just find the word accept makes people think, okay, did she accept the flag? Do I feel like she's okay with it? If she hasn't accepted it, I probably shouldn't move on. There we go. Get it up in all of her uncomfortable areas. Now before that cinch goes there, I sure am glad I found this little boogery spot here before I just strap her down with the saddle. The nice thing about this as well is I can decide how much pressure is going to be there, and I can find her limit of what she can handle, and I can keep it there till she can accept it, and then I can take it away. When you saddle them, it's just strap it on and see how it goes. This puts me in control of that, so I can talk to her a little bit and shows her I got what she needs to get her out of it. There you go, Grumpy. Good girl. Thank you. You're gonna have to get over the clapping. It's like, it means good girl. Check in that cinch again. I like how she handles fear to an extent, but I don't like that look on her face when she kind of just closes her eyes and doesn't really want to do anything, but you can tell she's uncomfortable. I'd like her to show me a little more, but she might the more she gets confident. We'll see. Now I'll go ahead and make sure we get the other eye. I know. If a horse is going to kick, isn't that the way you want one to kick? Now, this colt has got to go over a tarp, over the rails, through the pool noodles. There's a lot of stuff this mare's going to have to do by, it freaks me out to say it, but Sunday afternoon. So this type of stuff is a real good place to start because I have a feeling there's going to be some things balled up underneath her and she's going to have to handle it well. So it's a good way to prepare her for the finals. There she goes. Good girl. It's that time of year where you never don't have horsehair in your mouth. Hey, sweetie. Now there, I try to keep my left hand real calm. I try to keep all the energy out of my body, and what I'm looking for her to do is not give such a negative reaction. I don't want her to feel like she has to be nervous of getting hit in the head with a flag. So I'm just gonna keep it up there till I see her kind of relax a little bit to it and accept that it's above her. Just makes her a little better with her ears, gonna make her a little better to swing a rope on, which is where I'm gonna go next, so it's a good place to start. There, she ain't happy about it, but she'll accept it. Good girl. All right, time to prepare her for the saddle. What do I got left for time there, Hugh?
19 minutes and 21 seconds.
We were having a conversation at my training barn there the last few weeks about how it's a time sport and everything, and I thought, you know what, I've never actually timed myself saddling a colt or flagging a colt. It's really hard to see how long it would take, but I'm pretty sure I can saddle one in 7 minutes. So we'll keep that in mind as I rope her. Now what I'm going to do here is try to use my lariat to make sure that I find any kind of nervousness she's going to have in the cinch, and I want to teach her how to handle that pressure. So I'm going to start by swinging the rope. I already showed her a little bit that there, and she handled it pretty well. Make sure she feels it over ears, hears me feeding is a really big one when I feed rope and I feed it back in. There she looked like she took it pretty well. Next step will be roping it, laying the rope around her bum. Letting her kind of feel that. And if she feels to me like she's a little balled up, I'm going to put her in motion. No real worries there. All right. Now, if you guys are going to try this at home, some people say, well, I can't rope. You don't have to. You can just lay the rope over her belly. I can use a lead shank or a nice soft rope and then just be able to back her up. Now, as you can see, it doesn't always work good, but it mostly does. There we go. The other side of it is, if you're going to try something like this at home, I'd make darn sure my halter work felt good, because when I pull this into her, if she has a negative reaction, I want to make sure I am able to control her feet. If you can't control her feet, do not put a rope on a horse's belly, a colt's belly. All right, hey, yeah, start away a little bit. All right, going to go ahead and cinch her up, and then step her around and see how she responds. Everything looks real nice right there. No nerves. We'll move it back here into our back cinch area. There we found the buttons. Now I'm not pulling real hard here. I'm just helping her get over it. So I don't want to be rawing up her belly or anything. I just want her to keep feeling it. And I want to use pressure and release until she accepts that rope being around her belly. Now, obviously, we're not done there, so I got to try again. Good girl. I don't want her backing through that. Good job. Okay, folks, I'd say she's ready to saddle. What do you guys think? She's getting a little crowdy here, but I think she'll be okay to chuck the saddle on, and then we can start working her off of me there.
I can just see that building up.
Hey, move back. Just gonna give her a quick brushing, make sure there's no problems in anywhere the saddle's gonna fit, like a farmer brushing, right? Just where the saddle goes. Or the way my wife brushes a horse. No offense, honey.
Well, my wife, Billy, was taking the shedding blade to my old buckskin mare, Lucky, who's now 37 years old. And when they get old, they really grow out. And when she finished, she says, look at that. I got enough hair to make another horse.
Yeah, you should start making like pillows out of pure horsehair. 100% pure horsehair pillows. Handmade. You could sell them in New York or something where people don't realize that it's everywhere. Now here you can see she's not wanting to stand still, so that's why I'm just going to keep brushing her, and it's a good reason to grab the brush before you go to the saddle or the pad, is that I don't want to be foolish enough to think that if she won't stand still for me to brush her, why would she stand still for me to saddle her? And then she's going to start moving around when I saddle her, which is going to put me at a disadvantage to where maybe saddling doesn't go so well. It's really important to me that first saddling goes well on every horse, because I find it does make a big difference to stage the next week or two of training. If the first saddling doesn't go well, usually it takes you a long time to kind of come back from that. So if I find her touchy anywhere, I want to really go through it all. I'm really going to try to do a good job getting her with the pad. Sorry, trying to spit out horsehair. I can't do that with a mic on.
14 and a half minutes left now. Kade, 14 and a half. And talking about horsehair pillows, I just read this morning about something else. They're corduroy pillows.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and they're making headlines all over the country.
Oh, that's a good one. All right.
I got to explain it to Mark.
So with the pad, just a good takeaway if you guys are trying to saddle young colts, really make sure you mimic how it's going to be with the pad before you grab your saddle. Sometimes I'll catch even people that have been working for me, they'll give them one of these where they quietly put that pad on and then they wonder why they're scared of the saddle. The pad is a great transition for getting them used to having a saddle chucked up on them, and it's a lot lighter in the saddle and a lot easier to manage. So you can see she's going to be a little nervous of the pad. So I want to go at the pad like I believe it's okay. I don't want to be inching up to her like I'm scared of it, and I want to make sure I can chuck that pad from behind me to over top, so when I get the saddle, for her, she's going to be comfortable with me throwing things over top of her back and realize that it's not a form of pressure that means move your feet. And I was talking in the hotel last night with my dad, and we were talking about how one of the hardest things to do in a trainer challenge is get one to stand still to be saddled in the finals. Every trainer challenge I go to, that's a struggle because it's hard to get a colt to just stand there and take it. This is the step one to getting them to do it. There, she looks like she's accepted the pad out of the left eye. Good girl. Now let's try that right eye, sweetie. A guy in Texas told me that when you're padding them, a good trick is to get in front of that eye so they can't see it coming. And it was something he did to work really, really rough colts. And I took it and understood what he meant. It was getting them to where they'd let you put the saddle on it, and I completely reversed it to where I try to get out of her way so she can see it coming and see if there's going to be a problem in there. And it was kind of a neat way of looking at it because he came from a generation that didn't do as much groundwork as we did and didn't work colt as long, and they were always starting older horses that were chased in that had been out their whole life. So for him, he had to do whatever he could to get that saddle on without getting kicked in the head, to where we're in a completely different day and age of horsemanship here to where that's not the case. And him and I talked about it over supper that night, and it was kind of funny just to see how things had changed. As we're not looking at ways to get the saddle on without getting kicked. We're looking at ways to make them better to saddle. It's kind of a neat transition of the industry. All right, big guy. Now, odds are, something new, she's going to be a little nervy. That's okay. Hey, darling. The saddle looks like it fits her good. That's always a good start. It's always the worst when you're right here because you got to adjust all your tack the first time you saddle one. I don't want to be back here making a mess while she's wanting to blow up if she's going to. After roping her belly, though, I feel like she'll give me some time. Just holding that cinch in here till she'll relax, and then I'll take it away.
Do you saddle them from the right sometimes, Kade?
I do saddle from the right sometimes. What I look for is it's kind of the same thing we do with all the colts is I saddle them wherever I think they're going to be bad. If I can't saddle a horse from the right, I need to saddle him from the right. If this colt was really, really watchy, I would have made a real point of saddling on both sides. But as you can see with her, she just needs to build confidence enough with the saddling. I don't think it'll be a hard issue, but yes, definitely, saddling from the right is great. This saddle doesn't have a latigo on the right. It's just got a billet strap. I sure like them ones that have both.
10 minutes now.
Thank
10
you.
minutes.
This saddle I won at a trainer challenge in Ontario from a saddle maker that used to live in Penhold here, right close, named Todd Bailey. And it was so cool of him to sponsor a saddle, but I talked to him there a little while ago, and I said, I can't remember what year I was out there when I won this saddle. It was maybe 15 or 16. And I told Todd I've almost destroyed it. And he's like, well, we don't build them to go through what you put them through. I'm like, yeah, well, gonna have to send them back to get them to redo them. All right. I know, sweetie. Now, what I'm liking here is the way that she's moving. Obviously, I don't like that she is moving, but this colt isn't trying to get away. She ain't trying to cut me off or impede me from doing what I'm trying to do. She's just showing me she's a little uncomfortable there, so it's my job to just kind of talk her through it. Now, I could get mad at her for something she doesn't understand there or start trying to work her around, but I've still got a lot of tools to build in this horse before I can address them little problems. So as far as her not standing still to be saddled right there, I loved how she did it. If you are gonna make a mistake, that's the way to do it. Now, as soon as I saddle him up, I don't want him to blow up and jump right in my lap. So my start is always gonna be asking her to move away. And with her, if you guys have seen, that's harder to do than you would think. Away, doll, there you go. Pretty good. Thank you. Now, just being able to tap on her a little bit there and being able to open a door and send her a direction, I'm always looking at how she's taking these things because my goal, obviously, is to ride this horse. So everything I do on the ground, I really want to feel like if I get up there and she doesn't want to have forward motion and I got to tap her in the bum, I don't want to be hiding from anything like that. I want to see it. Good job. That was really soft side to side there. That felt great. I got to get you finished button up here. Hey.
7 minutes now, Kade. 7 minutes to lope 10 circles around the round pen here.
Can I turn her loose?
I don't see much running blood in her pedigree, so
no.
A little bit maybe. But.
Get going. Atta girl. Just creating that forward motion and trying to make sure she maintains soft. Like I was saying, everything I need to do with her is create forward motion. So every chance I get, I'm going to reward for it and make sure she understands moving them feet's a good thing. See if she can come down and be soft. Good girl. Nice job. Thank you. Now, before I get too far into this, I want to make sure I have time to unsaddle her in a good way. And if something goes wrong, I want to have time to make sure I can fix it. So sometimes when you saddle a young horse for the first time, you want to make sure that unsaddling him is setting you up to have another good day tomorrow. If I pull the saddle off and I've only got 1 minute left and I can't throw it back on her, I'm setting her to have problems tomorrow. So with 5 minutes left here, I'm going to make sure I really work her through. And then if we got leftover time, I can pick up her feet. Or teach her to back up. That's needed to happen too here, but we got a long list. Good girl.
I think I just saw the legend himself come in and sit down. Is that Ivan Daines over there?
I just saw Ivan too. I haven't seen him for a few years. Hey, Ivan.
Canadian saddle bronc riding champ many times. Day money qualifier at the MFR. And organizer of the Ivan Daines Country Music Picnic for 46 years or something.
That is always a fun time.
40 seconds left.
Come again?
40 seconds.
40?
Yeah.
Holy moly.
Oh, I'm looking at the wrong clock. No, 4 minutes and 30.
Holy moly, Hugh, you're killing me.
I got one that runs frontwards, one that runs backwards.
Gosh,
You've used up 40 minutes. You got 4 left.
4 minutes left?
Yeah.
Okay. Whew. That scared me. My gosh, we're not even undone yet. All right, so backup is something I haven't got to take a hold of here. When I back them up, I want to make sure it really comes from the pull of the halter. And there's a lot of different ways to back a horse up. My intention by using the pull of the halter is going to be that when I ride her, I'm going to pull on her the same way. So if I was to use my body or a training aid or anything to get her to move her feet without using the pull of the halter, I'd be setting her up to have a little trouble making that transition when I ride her. So this is a good way to kind of cool her out and finish off my session. Is going to teach her to follow there, soft in the face, moving backwards with her feet and follow the direction of that pull. When I'm done my session, can I hand her the halter? I don't got to take the halter off?
Leave the halter on.
Leave the halter on, okay. I know sometimes you get penalized for that, and then she was saying it'd be easier. I just want to check with the judges. Easier on the horse, too. Hey, good girl. Gotta love the look on her face. With the way horses sold at the Top Gun sale there, I'd be looking at this little girl if you guys are in the market. She's pretty cool looking. They're really soft in the face. Nice job. Just let her kind of chill that out and maybe spend the last little bit brushing her belly. I wanted to get to her feet, but no point in starting something I can't finish. Good girl. So that left side of that belly looks like she's pretty comfortable with me over there. It's the right side of that belly where we're going to have to do some extra work because every time I get over here, she gets a little movie and not as comfortable. That's better. Good girl. I hate to take all of her winter coat off with the way the weather is out there. Better leave a little out for you. It's supposed to warm up tomorrow. All right, let's try that back up again. Good girl.
I think it was Morgan Wilson from down west of Calgary posted a picture of everything covered with snow last week. And with the drought and the way the climate's been, he said, we're grateful for every flake.
I saw some videos of some cowboys in North Dakota, and they got that snow bad. They were having a rough go. But everyone said they needed the moisture. I'm going to make sure I end her on a good note because this is a 5-minute job in the backup. But that's about as pretty as I can ask one to back up on day one. Good girl. Okay, we got to be pretty close, ain't we?
A minute left. 1 minute.
1 minute.
To do whatever you want.
Oh, I think we've done enough with her. Hopefully we can get her saddled and feeling good in the next session, and hopefully we can step on her here today. I know we got a session this afternoon, so that's good for me and Dixie there. Thanks, guys, for coming and watching, and hope to see you the rest of the weekend. Thank you.
Kade Mills and Dixie, and we'll take a short break and be back at 12 o'clock with Trevor Murtis.